Okay, we're here today with a 2022 Wonder front twin bed, and we're going to be swapping out the 2000 inverter for a 3000 watt inverter. It should, it shouldn't be sagging like that. Yeah. Okay, so as I said, we're here with a 2022 Wonder, and first we need to turn off the power. So I've already turned off the house battery switch. Now I'm going to be turning off the Lithionics battery. You press and hold it until the blue light goes out. And now I also need to switch off the solar. They've replaced their Go Power solar, so they have nice circuit breakers, so it makes it very easy for you to turn off the solar. So now we've got all the electricity to the 2000 watt inverter turned off. So now we open this back cover, this little thumb wheel. Sometimes it's really tight. You just loosen it, it pops right off. This is the phone cord. We're also going to be replacing the Xantrex remote with a Bluetooth remote, and this is the ignition control wire. So I'm just going to cut that. You can use a little screwdriver to pop it out, but I just cut it. And then I'm going to be loosening these screws so I can remove the 120 wires. This is just a strain relief holder. Now, the only reason we can actually just do a swap out of a 2000 for 3000 without having to change any wiring is because they have a Lithionics battery. A Lithionics battery is the only lithium battery that uses the leisure wiring of it's called 2/0, 2/0 gauge battery connection wires. So if you have a Lithionics battery, it makes it very friendly to do these upgrades because you don't have to change any wiring, any fusing, anything at all. So then you just need to flip all these flippers back, and you need to make sure they get flipped all the way back, and you want to be careful because you don't want to break any. But you can see this one's flipped back, but see how that one is? That didn't get flipped all the way back. So you want to make sure these get flipped all the way back and they stay back like that, or you can't pull these wires out. And before I pull them out, I want to mark them. See, they just pull out very easily. So you just, basically just push this to the side. Now these will have to be out of the way when I take this out, but you just get them out of the way for now. And then I use a 13 millimeter, but you need an extension. To loosen these nuts that hold the battery cables on. And you want to be careful because if you drop one, well, it doesn't matter so much on this because you're taking it out and you can shake the nut out, but if you're when you put the new one back in, you want to be very careful not to drop a nut, or you might have to remove the whole thing just to get the nut out of where you dropped it inside. Okay, so now we're gonna take these battery cables out. Okay, there you go. All right, now Then the last thing is up here, but I'm not gonna, we have a case ground, but I'm not going to disconnect that until I actually remove the unit from the wall. So now I need my Robertson square bit. And a lot of this is just kind of by feel, because you really can't see. Let me see if I can. So I always take out the bottom first because they're the hardest really to see. And then I use this little support. You can use blocks. I just use an airbag, because then that supports it when I take the top screws out. It just doesn't fall down. Okay. And these are hard to see as well. Okay, so I got those out. All right, so now I can let the air out of my little airbag, and the inverter is completely disconnected. Okay, so now I need to remove this ground wire, and to do that you need like a shorty, flat bladed screwdriver. And you just loosen the screw that holds this cable in. And now that's disconnected. Okay, so now we completely have this disconnected. And Shazam! We can remove it. Now for the new one, we're going to need to reuse these. So there's a little nut on the inside, and you just loosen it. So I'll remove these, and we'll get the new inverter in place, and we'll do that. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and flip these flippers open, so it's easier for me when I get it in place. Like I said, I'm going to reattach these strain relief holders. And they hold the oops, I hold the wire. And it's just a nut, you screw it on. I'll finish putting these on, and I'll get it in place and come back. Okay, now you put this into place. And like I said, the first thing you want to do is you want to reattach this nut. So you want to unscrew this so you can get the wire back into place. Okay, make sure it's good and tight. Pull on it. That's great. Okay, now then I'm going to put my little bag under here again. So we can get this to the right height. And this time we'll be putting the top screws in first. And then we'll get to the bottom ones. Now, as I said before, you can just use blocks, so it's up to you. But it is hard to see. So, let's see. All right, and I will put a link to all these tools that I'm using and to the inverter and the Bluetooth remote to make it easier for folks to do this upgrade. And remember, you can only replace, do a like for like swap between a 2000 and a 3000 if you have a Lithionics battery. That's the only lithium battery that can use 2-aught gauge cables, which are the ones that Leisure installs with their 2000W inverter. And the 250 amp mega fuse that Leisure uses, only a Lithionics battery is compatible with the Leisure wiring of a 2000W inverter. Otherwise, you have to change out all the battery cables to much heavier 4-aught gauge cables in order to do this. So it's a lot of extra work. So a Lithionics battery makes these upgrades very user-friendly. Okay, so now I basically just go back to hooking everything up. All right, so snug them up, and then take your 13mm wrench and tighten them up. Now, you don't want them gorilla tight, but you want to make sure they're tight. Okay, so I actually wrote these wrong. I don't know how I saw that, but the top one that I took out is the out and the bottom one is the in. So I remarked them. Fortunately, I remembered. I didn't just trust my writing. So now, so you want to put the out. This is the out. It says it right here. Out and in. So you want to put your out wires back in here and your in wire back in there. and you need, the order is very specific. So if you look in here, you see it says NGL. That means neutral ground load. Neutral is white, ground is the bare wire. And in fact, these are a little bit shorter. I need to strip some of this off. Leisure has been having trouble with these inverters because they didn't take enough casing off. And you can see this actually got pinched in. So you need these to be able to be fully slid in. So I'm going to strip some of this casing off of here. All right, so as you can see, I took off a lot more casing. So you want to be able to slide these in so there's no casing and you're getting a good connection with that lever lock. So, as I said, now I've moved these in and out. Okay, so I'm going to slide these in. Like I said, you want it to be NGL, white, bare wire, and black wire. And so you need to get these to hit their holes. I like to do them both at the same time so you can push them in fully. Okay, so now those are, like I said, you want to pull on them. And I can put this black cover back on. And we'll test, of course, we'll test this when we get it connected. And if somehow I hooked something up, had those switched, which I think I have them correct, but oh no. Okay, so then you tighten these up, and you just want them to be snug. You just want them to press down on the casing, kind of just, put a little pressure on it. You don't want it to, like dig in to the orange covering. You just want it to be, just a pressure on it to keep the wire from jiggling around. All right, so that's all nice and snug. Okay, now we have the remote connection. I'm going to cut this so I can get all this lined up a little bit better. A battery disconnect. That's very important with the 3000 watt inverter. You need to be able, the 3000 watt inverter has such a large current, inrush current, that you always want to control when you're bringing the inverter online. With the Lithionics battery having an on and off switch, when you're first, if you ever have the Lithionics battery off and then you're turning it on, while it's in that process of coming on, you don't want the inverter to be trying to draw power from it, because that's when it's at its most weakest. So you want to install a battery disconnect switch. So I already have put the cable on this switch, and now I just need to put this. So the switch basically goes in between. Oh, I'm going to have to drill this out. So the switch goes in between your battery connection and your inverter connection. And I may actually need to shorten this cable because this is much closer than than I normally work. So I'll just see. All right, so let me get this drilled out and come back and show you. Okay, so there's a lot of extra cable here, so I was able to pull this out more. And you just want to get this tight, and you want to test and make sure it doesn't move. And you're putting this on in such a way that you know your cover is going to go on. So I want to lock down this one. Okay, make sure that doesn't move. Okay, and I just used a step bit to drill out this, because this is 3/8, so to drill out the leisure one I just used this step bit to drill it out to fit on there. And as I said, I'll put links to everything. All you need to do is click on the title when you're watching. And the way we put cover on is I just use zip ties. So I will run these zip ties around and come back. Okay, so now we'll put this back together. Okay. All right. All right, so we will zip tie this in a better position when we're done. Okay, so the last thing we need to do is reattach the remote. I need to cut this. Oh no, maybe I can slide it. It's kind of loose. Yeah, there it goes. Okay. So you plug in the remote right in the remote bin, right down here in the remote connection. And then I'm going to make the connection for this 20 pin with this yellow wire. Okay, this is a StarTech 20 pin. This is actually a 20 pin to a 24. So I just buy these because they're like $6, and I need this end. It plugs right in. Let's make sure it plugs right. Yeah, plugs right in. So I need to pull out all the wires and the only wire I need is this one that's 2 places from the bottom. So I always cut it up here, and I take a pair of needle nose pliers. What do I do with my glasses? Oh. Then I take a pair of needle nose pliers and I just pull out all the connections I don't need. So I will pull out every one of these and come back and show you. All right, so now I'm down to this. As I said, the FXC Control wire, which is the wire we want. It's an ignition control that's powered by the Leisure fuse box, and it sends a 12 volt, when you turn on your house battery switch, it sends a 12 volt signal that turns on the control power for your inverter. And then that way, when you're ready to use it, it comes on automatically. So I will strip these two and put a connector on it. Give it a tug, make sure it's good. I'm going to heat shrink it. Okay. Alright, so now we can plug this in. So first I'll plug this one in. It goes right down here. There. And next I have the remote. Goes right in here. Okay. So it's hard to see, but there's my 20 pin connector. And there's the remote. It's not. And there's the remote. Alright, so we will zip tie this back. Okay, so now I am ready to put my cover back on. We've got everything hooked up. I will put this cover back on, and then I will zip tie all this up nice and pretty, and we can get on testing it. Okay, so I got everything zipped up. Switch works very easily. It's all secure. Now it's time to go in and do the breaker box reconfiguration. So this is the breaker box. So we are reconfiguring the breaker box to be able to run everything off the 3000 watt inverter. This 2022 Wonder has a Dometic air conditioner, so the owners have installed a soft start. You must have a soft start on your air conditioner, on any of the Leisure air conditioners, before they can run from a 3000 watt inverter. And that's because they require so much amperage to actually start the compressor, the cooling compressor. So if you add a soft start, it cuts that peak, that surge that's required to start the compressor to a number that's like less than 24 amps, which the 3000 watt inverter can supply. So you must have a soft start on your air conditioner if you want it to run from a 3000 watt inverter. Okay, now on this panel, where is it? Oh, okay, here it is. Okay, so the way Leisure has wired this is they only have, on the 2000 watt inverter, they only had the inverter output, which is this 30 amp breaker, and the 15 amp entertainment, bed, and galley outlets, and that's this one. So what we're doing is, and they have the Dometic refrigerator, so we're going to leave the Dometic refrigerator on the shore power side. So basically, this marks the two buses. So from here over is the inverted bus, and from here over is what I call shore power or generator. So this is your shore power main coming in, and that says main, and then this is the air conditioner. This is the inverter input. So the inverter input picks up when you're plugged into shore power, the input picks up and passes through the power through the inverter to the inverter output. So these breakers are supplied by the inverter or shore power passing through. So we need to move all the breakers we want to be inverted over to this side. And as I said, the refrigerator is this one. So we're going to leave that over here. If you have a Dometic 3-way refrigerator, you have to leave the refrigerator breaker on the shore power side, or else your automatic switching feature doesn't work. Your automatic power switch, that doesn't work if you put it on the inverted side. So we leave that there. Okay, so to move these breakers, and I better get my, let me get my tape and mark all these so we don't get confused. Okay, so I'm just going to use blue painter's tape. I'm going to mark all the breakers so I don't get confused, and I'll come back and show you. Okay, so I have marked everything, and since the refrigerator and the microwave are on what's called a tandem, I'm going to have to separate them and put the microwave on its own 15. So let's get started. So like I said, what we're going to do is we're going to be moving the air conditioner breaker, and the way you get these breakers out is you just pull it forward, and it snaps out of this back there. Okay, and so we're just taking all these out. And I may have to undo some of them, undo some of the wires so I can get them moved around, depending on how they're connected. So yeah, you can see I'm going to have to, well, I might as well just bring these out. As I said, inverter in is the first breaker on the inverted bus. And you can see this starts the first bus. And this is the short power bus. So, well, I'm going to just remove this so I can move everybody that I need to move. That shore power, this was not connected. Oh man, that's bad. So we will fix that. Wow, that's serious. Not having these wires in that very good. All right, so this is an entertainment outlet. This is the air conditioner, so I'm just going to put everybody that needs to come over here. This is the inverter in. As I said, that's going to be the first breaker. This is the general. This is inverter out, that's inverter in. Okay, so you just really have to try to see what you have room for, because you've got to make these wires work. And sometimes you have to disconnect the white wires. I mean, you have to do a lot of disconnecting to make it all work. So we're just going to pull this all back. start one at a time. All right, so as I said, we're going to be removing the refrigerator. We're putting the refrigerator on its own. I think I'll just move the microwave and leave this tandem breaker over here. So I'll take the microwave out. Okay. All right, so we'll leave this off because there's not going to be anything there. And this is the refrigerator. I have that marked refrigerator. Okay. So let's just start with what we have. So the shore power was not connected. I mean, it wasn't even screwed down. I mean, I don't even know. I don't know how that was. I really don't know how that was working at all. So now that shore power one is in there solidly. And I'm going to put it back on the first breaker. Now you can see right here. See this split? Okay, so this is one bus. It's one set of bus bars, and this is another set of bus bars. So this shore power goes on the first one. So you put it in on the bottom, and then you push it down. And that's very tight, so that's what we want. Okay, and then the next one is the inverter in. Okay, so the next one we want to put over here is, I like to tighten these up before we put them down. Alright, so that one, and of course this is going to snap right into there, so you put it down on the bottom first. And you push it in. Okay, and then lastly, I like to turn them on as I do them. Then lastly, we're putting the refrigerator back on. Okay. All right. Okay, so now these three are going to be on the shore power bus, and this is shore generator basically, so that's that. And then on this side, you need to keep your neutrals. This is the neutral. There's two neutral bars here. This neutral bar is for this bus, and this neutral bar is for that bus. So you only want the neutral wires for these three breakers on this bus. So now we need to trace back. Okay. So this big white wire, it's hard to see, but this big white wire is going right here. And so if you follow the black, if you follow this black wire, you see it is coming to this breaker. So that's on the correct side. This big white wire is going to the shore power black, straight back there. And so the last one I need to verify is the refrigerator. And the refrigerator is going to this group of wires right there. So that's this white wire. So this is the only white wire that's going to stay on this neutral bar. So, and just take your time and do one side at a time. So you make sure you get everything lined up. Then I just make sure all these are tight. You don't want any loose wires. Okay, so that bus is done. All right, so now, what do we have? I always like to put, if at all possible, I like to put the inverter wire, the inverter output, I like to put it on the very first bar of the inverted bus. There. Okay. And then, depending on how I can get the other wires to go. Okay, so this wire, I'm actually going to have to take this loose because I just can't get the black wire over there. So, I'm going to try to pull this out of here. Alright, so this it's still, let's take this white out too. It's just too tangled. Alright. These two wires. All right, now I'm trying to get them to go to that. Okay, so that's going to go. And this is the air conditioner. So let's tighten that up. All right, so I'm going to put the air conditioner one place over. Right there. And I'm going to put the entertainment breaker there. Okay. All right. Make sure these are tight. Okay. All right, now I can put this back on here. That's good and tight. Okay, all right, so now everybody is back in their correct spot. And all these neutrals can come down and go in this bar. I forgot. This is the microwave. I forgot to put it on its own breaker. Make sure that gets on there correctly. Okay. All right. And that's the microwave. And I better mark it. Okay. All right, now last but not least, gotta find a spot for this. All right, so make sure everybody's tight. Make sure all these are tight. Okay. All right, so now we have, this is the inverter out. So we have all these breakers are now being supplied by the inverter off of battery. When on shore power, and these are all the breakers for shore power. When on shore power feeds the inverter input, which passes through the inverter and goes to its output and feeds all these breakers. So this is done. Now I just need to mark the inverter panel so they know what breakers they have. This is empty, so if they ever want to add like another shore power circuit or something, they certainly would have that to do that. So now let me fix their panel, and let me put this back on, and then I'll come back and we'll button it up. Okay, so I've got all the breakers marked now, and as I said, this last breaker right here is off. It's it's empty, so I've called it a blank. So if they ever want to add another shore power breaker, they certainly can do that. Or they can switch a tandem and put the blank over here if they want to add another inverter circuit, but that gives them some flexibility. So now, I need to take this off. So now I need to put this back together. All these are fitted in there. We still have to install our Bluetooth remote, so we'll do that next. Last but not least, we are replacing this remote with a Bluetooth version Xantrex remote, and it's very easy. You just use your square. It's a #1 square Robertson bit. You just take out these screws. Pull it out. Just has a simple phone cord. You unplug it. Plug in the new one. Hear that click. Put it back in. Put your screws back in. Okay, so now we have a Bluetooth Xantrex, and you guys need to download the FXC Control app. A lot of people download like a Xantrex, other apps because they think Xantrex, but that's not the app you want. You want the FXC Control app. So don't make a mistake and have any other app on your phone but that one, or this won't work.
Okay. Did you find it, Don?
Yeah, FXC Control.
Right.
Okay.
So download that. Okay. So now we are ready to go test. Okay, so now we are ready to start it up. You always want to make sure that this little silver button is popped out. So you can push it in or pop it out. You need to have it popped out because having it popped out allows the remote control to control. If you had it pressed in, then your remote control wouldn't work at all.
Okay.
So now we want to turn on the Lithionics battery. So we press and hold the button till the blue light comes on and the step comes out. We want to turn on the house battery switch. Okay, now that sends the ignition control power. And then we turn it on, and we should hear the fan. Okay, so the fact that you had to push the Xantrex remote in says the ignition control isn't working. So that started up. That's the way it's supposed to start up when you first turn it on. Okay, he called it up. Hit that. That's your device. Okay, so he called that up on his on the FXC Control app, and now we're going to do the settings. So go to your settings down there. Okay, so bottom line, the way you do the settings is you hit your settings cog and then you hit each one. We're just going to go through and do the settings, and I will put a picture of the settings in the video, and we'll just come back when we're done. Well, that is how it's acting. I like it to start, the inverter to start up automatically when I turn on the house battery switch. So we put it on the automatic setting, and that now seems to perform like the lockout setting used to perform. It turns on automatically and it turns off automatically with the house battery switch. Let's turn on the house battery switch and make sure the ignition control feature works, and this turns on automatically. The fan starts. That's your very first indication it's working properly. And we have our screen is lit up in the back. So it's working the way it's supposed to work. Okay, so now we're ready to test the air conditioner operation. All right, let's turn that air conditioner on. You'll have to turn your temperature way down. Oh, No, came right on. Wow, is this loud? You guys are really going to have to think about getting Atmos. Okay, but hey, we got air conditioner. That's great.